Writing right-of-way descriptions. Of all the right-of-way engineering activities, writing the legal description will be the most difficult. All acquisition files have to be approached on their own. They're all unique. Nothing is really cut and dried. So, best thing to consider here is from evidence and procedures for boundary location. The best deed authors use a minimum of terms that give a clear intent without error, conflict, or ambiguity. The writer who is applauded is the one who condenses but omits nothing essential, who creates no conflicts and is clear. Here's a suggested reading. There is Boundary Control and Legal Principles from Brown, Evidence and Procedures for Boundary Location from Brown, again from Brown, Land Surveyor Reference Manual, the ORS Chapter 93, Conveyancing and Recording, the ODOT Right-of-Way Engineering Manual, and my white paper, Making Sense of ODOT Centerline Descriptions. There are different types of deed forms. We have statutory, we have the warranty deed, bargain and sale deed, quitclaim deed, and in the deed you're going to have with your conveyance language, there is the grantor, his name, there's consideration, and the grantee. So who is giving it for the value and who they're giving it to. You have a description or in the deed or a reference to an Exhibit A. There are covenants, conditions, restrictions, and easements. You have signatures and acknowledgments. And you have your Exhibit A, which is attached in ours, and the recording stamp. So some objectives here. This is from Evidence and Procedures. It is desirable that a land description should contain title identity, relationship between particular description and adjoiners, should not interfere with the senior rights of others, it excludes lands of others, should be so written that either at the present or at a future date it can be readily located by a competent surveyor. It should not contain words capable of alternate interpretations. Those are ambiguities. Should contain measurement data sufficient to describe a geometric area that closes mathematically and should be based on a recent survey. We get into the law, 93.310, Rules for Construing Description of Real Property. So the following are rules for construing the descriptive part of a conveyance of real property when the construction is doubtful and there are no other sufficient circumstances to determine it. So number one, where there are certain definite and ascertained particulars in the description, the addition of others which are indefinite, unknown, or false does not frustrate the conveyance, but it is to be construed by such particulars if they constitute a sufficient description to ascertain its application. Basically, if reading the deed, if you can determine the description of what it is describing, it's a good deed, even if there are some aspects which are in error. If you can still construe what the deed is describing, it's a good deed. When permanent, invisible, or ascertained boundaries or monuments are inconsistent with the measurement either of lines, angles, or surfaces, the boundaries or monuments are paramount. You hold a monument, you hold a call to a boundary, say, to the west line of Jones's property. Between different measurements which are inconsistent with each other, that of angles is paramount to that of surfaces, and that of lines paramount to both. So distances hold over direction, and both distance and direction holds over area. When a road or stream of water not navigable is the boundary, the rights of the grantor to the middle of the road or the thread of the stream are included in the conveyance, except where the road or bed of the stream is held under another title. So navigable waterways. On a navigable river, the state owns the underlying fee, the bed of that river. If it's non-navigable, then the adjoiners go to the middle or thread of that stream. The same with roads. Um, if the road was there by easement, the adjoiners call to the center of the road. In the case where it has been acquired by fee, in which that's what ODOT does, we acquire our right-of-way in fee. We own the underlying fee, and the adjoiners only call to the right-of-way line. When tidewater is the boundary, the rights of the grantor to the low water mark are included in the conveyance, and also the right of the state between high and low water mark. So riparian rights. When the description refers to a map and that reference is inconsistent with other particulars, it controls them. If it appears that the parties acted with reference to the map, otherwise the map is subordinate to other definite and ascertained particulars. So it's important that a description, which includes a map, and it is made a part thereof, that map will hold over the written description if it's apparent that the parties acted with reference to the map. 93.6, description of real property for purposes of recording. Otherwise prescribed by law, real property shall be described for recordation by giving the subdivision according to the United States Survey when consistent with the boundaries thereof, or by lots, blocks, and addition names, or by partition plat recording and parcel numbers, or by giving the boundaries thereof by metes and bounds, or by reference to the book and page, document number, or fee number of any public record of the county where the description may be found, or in such other manner as to cause the description to be capable of being made certain. However, description by tax lot number shall not be adequate. Initial letters, abbreviations, figures, fractions, and exponents to designate the township, range, section, or part of a section, or the number of any lot or block or part thereof, or any distance, course, bearing, or direction may be employed in any such description of real property. So that's the basis of how we write our descriptions in any legal description. Now, use of coordinates. 93.6 doesn't mention coordinates, and in 93.310 does not specifically include the use of coordinates in legal descriptions, but it doesn't exclude them either. The use of coordinates in descriptions is specified in 93.312. In that 312, the Oregon Coordinate System. So as used in this section, the Oregon Coordinate System means a coordinate mapping system composed of three coordinate projection mapping systems known as, we have the Oregon State Plane Coordinate System in 1927, State Plane Coordinate System of 83, and the Oregon Coordinate Reference System, that's the OCRS. So NAD 27, NAD 83, and the OCRS. A description of land that contains coordinates associated with the position of a point on a land boundary must A. Use the Oregon Coordinate System, one of those three systems defined above. Use one specified zone and system for the entire description. Don't mix and match. Include coordinate system datum with epoch and zone designation. And use coordinates established by survey connection to the National Spatial Reference System. And E, reference a surveyor record that reports the accuracy of coordinates at a 95% confidence level. And finally, it must include distances, bearings, areas, and other boundary elements. So you can't use coordinates exclusively in a description. However, current ODOT preference is not to use coordinates in the legal descriptions. Parts of a description. This is per boundary control and legal principles. The caption, that cites the general locality, the map number or reference document in city, town, county, or state, and other matters of general interest. The body identifies a particular land area within the locality designated by the caption. Qualifying clauses, including reservations, take away something included within the body, and augmenting clauses may give something in addition to what was conveyed in the body, such as an augmenting easement for ingress and egress. Parts of the descriptions, all descriptions are going to start wide in the caption. You have a generalized locality, then it narrows it down to a specific area, say part of that property in this particular deed. Identifies that, and then we further qualify it or augment it. Most common types of descriptions, again from boundary control and legal principles, we have the perimeter description, description by bounds, a strip description, that's our preference, description by reference, that includes adequate parts of a section, or combinations of these. Now, in our legal descriptions, actually two parts, we have for every description you write, there's going to be an addendum, file addendum. This contains metadata about the acquisition file, and this previously was prepared by the writer separately with the legal description. The addendum currently is generated by the right-of-way section's right-of-way information tracking system, known as RITS. The metadata on the file is entered in the various fields in RITS, and the generated addendum is used by appraisers and the agents and the document specialists to value the proposed taking, negotiate with the owner to acquire the property, and prepare the deed. This addendum is not recorded with the final deed. The addendum header, it shows the right-of-way file number, and that's the project number and sequential number, the ODOT drawing number, writer's name, organization, the date. It has the project information, the name, highway, county, whether it's throughway or non-throughway, the grantor's name, number of parcels in the description if there's more than one parcel. Has parcel access language for each parcel in the description, that's listed. Even if you're buying a temporary easement, you have to list parcel access language. Now, this parcel access language is used by the document specialist to place the correct access language in the deed. This is critical. It's critical that you as a writer use the correct language phrase and to list it for each parcel, even if the parcel is a temporary easement. Also, additional information regarding the parcels, such as overlapping easement areas, is also included. Also have location of the proposed taking by adequate part and tax lot, the remainder area of the grantor's property, and listing of prior files that we have had on that property, and any additional notes that the writer feels may be important regarding the proposed taking that may affect the appraisal of the property or preparation of the deed may be included. The Exhibit A contains the legal descriptions defining the property to be acquired and may contain multiple acquisition parcels. These parcels can be fee takings or easements, and the Exhibit A is used as an attachment in the recorded deed. So on the Exhibit A, there's a header, and it shows the page number, number of pages, right-of-way file number, drawing number, and the date. Okay, each parcel of the Exhibit A includes a parcel number if there is more than one parcel in the description, and a title specifying what is being taken. The property being described in the parcels can be a taking in fee title or an acquisition of easement rights. Easements are permanent or temporary, and they are specific as to use. The grantor is going to retain the underlying fee ownership encumbered by the easement, and we can only use the easement area for what was specified. For example, if you have a slope easement, you can't place signs within it. It's only for slopes. We have the caption that cites the general locality of the property, map number or reference document, city, town, county, or state, and other matters of general interest. In this case, it's a parcel of land lying in the white DLC 51, and it's a portion of that property described in that bargain and sale deed, the stars and bucks. Okay, the caption could have the subdivision, the government land system, donation land claim, platted subdivision name, parcel land lying in Smith's addition. Has the county will be there, vesting deed reference, type of deed, grantee, recording date, document number of the county records. The body identifies a particular land area within the locality designated by the caption. So, said parcel being that portion of said property included in a strip of land variable width. So that's defining it, we're narrowing it down. It could include centerline bounds if that's applicable. Reference to the centerline of the highway, that's going to be there since we're describing off the centerline, and we have the strip language. So our center line will be described, and standard description will begin at an engineer station, run through tangents, curves, ending tangent to an ending station. Our centerline descriptions, we have a tie to a monument of the Public Land Survey System, the PLSS. The limits of the centerline is going to encompass the parcel being acquired, and the center line always begins and ends with tangents. So you want a center line which is going to begin and end outside of the property we are acquiring. Okay, variable width tables, that defines the width of the segments of the strip being described lying between engineer stations on the center line. So typical variable width table, station to station, and the width. The first call is 13 plus 90 to 14 plus 33, 76 in a straight line to 45. It's a tapering width. The next bound between stations, between 14 plus 33 and 14 plus 68, 27, constant width of 45. We have a basis of bearing statement if that is needed. It must match the right-of-way map. It must be on the Oregon Coordinate System or the OCRS, so NAD 83, 2783 or the OCRS, or it could be reference to a record survey. So the area statement reports the area of the parcel being acquired. This area is stated to the nearest square foot or 1/100th of an acre, and we always state it as more or less. Different ways that you can report that area statement. So let's say the grantor's deed calls to the center of the highway. The deed does not accept out that portion lying within the existing highway right-of-way. And more importantly, the highway right-of-way is not held under other title. So we have a new fee acquisition. It'll purchase a strip of land. It's described from this center line. The stated area in the description will be the area of the strip lying outside of the existing highway right-of-way. And in your area statement, you will say, this parcel of land contains X number of square feet, more or less, outside the existing right-of-way. Now, second scenario, say that the grantor's deed calls to the center of the highway. It's an old deed. and it does not accept out that portion lying within the existing. However, we had a prior ODOT acquisition, and we picked up the underlying fee. New acquisition will purchase a strip land described from the center line. The description will have a qualifying clause that accepts out our prior acquisition. Since no part of the grantor's property lies within the existing highway right-of-way anymore, the area statement in the description will just read, this parcel of land contains X number of square feet, more or less. Third scenario, the grantor's deed calls to the existing right-of-way line. New fee acquisition will be a strip of land described from the center line. Since no part of the grantor's property lies within the existing highway right-of-way, the area statement is going to say this parcel of land contains X number of square feet, more or less. Okay, qualifying clauses, that includes reservations, take away something included within the body of the description. We like to note that using the word except and also accept. So accept therefrom, also accept therefrom. And example here, except therefrom that property described in that warranty deed to the state of Oregon, we get the deed reference, or most common, except therefrom parcel 1. Now, augmenting clauses may give something in addition to what was conveyed in the body. We use the word also that portion, and also that portion. In this case, also that portion of vacated Lake Street inuring to said Block 4, as described in that order of vacating streets. Now, the preferred method for writing descriptions for ODOT acquisitions is the centerline strip description. This method lends itself well to a highway corridor and a long association with the agency dating back to the beginnings of the highway division. Other types of descriptions may be used if a strip description does not fit well with the situation. So standard types of descriptions are centerline strip, described line, described tract, meets and bounds, and description by bounds. The described centerline. Centerline that the acquisition parcels are referenced to will be described in the description. The description will begin at a specified engineer station on the centerline. The engineer station will be tied to a section corner, quarter or 16th section corner, donation land claim corner, or subdivision lot or block corner. These are the monuments in the public land survey system. Traditionally, this tie will be cardinal directions from the PLSS corner, north, south, east, or west. The courses of the alignment are then given along the tangents and curves to the ending station. Lengths of spirals and the central curves are stated along with the radius of the central curve and chord bearing and chords of both the spirals and central curve. We're beginning at engineer station W10 plus naught naught, and this station is 1,096.64 feet south and 1,929.98 feet east of the southwest corner of the Jesse Harriet DLC number 67. So then we got that beginning point. Then we have our beginning tangent, north 21 degrees, 30 minutes, 38 seconds west, and the distance for 68.27. Then we go through a spiral. We have a 100-foot spiral curve, and we give the chord bearing and distance of the spiral. Then so we go in the central curve. We state the radius, 954.90 feet, and we give the long chord of the central curve and the distance. So north 1525, 52 west, 102.59 feet, and of course the distance of the central curve along the arc, 102.64 feet. Then we have the spiral out, and we tell what direction it is. So it's a curve to the right or a curve to the left if you're running along it facing the direction of travel. On the spiral out, we give the spiral chord in distance and the length of the spiral. And then In this case, we give a tangent bearing out. It's a half a foot to an equation station. Then we continue on to the ending station, which is W33 plus naught naught. Our center line need only be described once in the description. When multiple parcels are described using the same center line, it will be referenced. So in this case, center line of the relocated McKenzie Highway referred to herein is described in parcel 1. A description may be written using a center line which is described in another deed. The deed that the center line is described in will be referenced in the parcel description. This most often occurs in ODOT descriptions of surplus property sales. So, example, and included in a strip of land 60 feet in width lying on the southerly side is said center line, which center line is described in that deed to the state of Oregon by and through its State Highway Commission, and then the book and page. Equations that occur along the highway center line alignment are noted in the description of the center line. In this case, we're going coming out of the spiral curve, we're going a half a foot to engineer station W17 plus 71.41 POT back equals W17 plus 72.24 POT ahead. So the example here, we have 638 plus 40 to 643 plus 26 back equals 643 plus 5430 ahead. And we get the width, constant width, 52 feet. And then the next call has that same equation station and then goes on ahead. Strip descriptions are either a constant width or a variable width. So an example, strip with a constant width, said parcel being that portion of said property included in a strip of land 40 feet in width, lying on the southerly side of the center line of the relocated Corvallis-Lebanon Highway, which center line is described as follows. Okay, here's an example of a variable width table in the description. So said parcel being that portion of said property, including the strip of land variable in width, lying on the southerly side of the center line of the relocated Corvallis-Lebanon Highway. And then we have the width table. A variable width table in a description can at first be difficult to interpret. Keep in mind that each call in the table is a segment that defines a specified width from the center line between specified engineer stations on the center line. This segment can either be a constant width or a changing width. The following slides will illustrate how a variable width table works, and actually it's very, very simple. So here we go. Here's our variable width table and a clip from the right-of-way map showing the takings. Now, the first segment in the table is from 1201 plus 50 to 1204 plus naught naught with a width of 40 feet, constant width. However, we're only acquiring from within the grantor's property, so the actual segment is just from this property line up to 1204 plus naught naught. 1201 plus 50 is beyond the grantor's property line. Now, the second segment is from 1204 plus naught naught to 1205 plus naught naught with a width of 50 feet. Still constant width. We're now have 10 feet additional, so we have a right angle jog in that taking. You do not need to put a segment in there that says 1204 plus naught naught to 1204 plus naught naught, 40 in a straight line to 50. Remember, we're defining segments between station bounds. So the third call, 1205 plus naught naught to 1205 plus 50, we're variable width now. We're going 50 in a straight line to 90. And the last call is 1205 plus 50 to 1207 plus naught naught, 90 in a straight line to 30. The last call, 1207, again is outside of the grantor's property, so the actual segment is just between 1205 plus 50, and the property line. The segments of the table taken together as a whole define the property described in the body. Because the widths are stated from the center line, the existing right-of-way is included in the parcel. The existing right-of-way may not be taken out of the parcel in a qualifying clause depending on the circumstances. Described line descriptions define the parcel boundary by reference to a defined line. The parcel may be limited to a specified direction of the described line, or the parcel may be located on both sides of the described line. This line could be a secondary center line, say for a drainage easement, or it could be a newly defined right-of-way line that does not lend itself to a constant width or variable width description. The described line may be along multiple center lines, and the points on the described line may be referenced to the center line of the highway. So here we have a described line description. So it says the parcel being that portion of said property lying southerly of the following described line. So we got a point of beginning. It's 110 feet northerly of Engineer Station 661 plus 3445. Then we go easterly in a straight line to a point opposite and 135 feet northerly Engineer Station 671 plus 50. And that's our described line, and it's all that portion of the grantor's property lying southerly of that line. Now, described tract descriptions differ from the described line in that the description defines a closed shape and is similar to a meets and bounds description. Type of description, this type is used for irregularly shaped tracts that cannot be described by a center line. For example, when the shape of a tract changes direction and it runs backwards along the center line. So normally with a strip we have a width table, but it's running always forward ahead on line. But when you go backwards, the width table obviously won't work. So use a described tract. The points on the tract are usually defined in relation to the center line, and the parcel may be the entire tract or only a portion just lying within the tract. That's where it differs from a meets and bounds. This tract description, being that portion is said property lying within the following described tract, and we're beginning at station 668 plus 10. Then we're beginning at that station on the center line. Then we go northerly at right angles for 104.89 feet, then northwesterly in a straight line to a point opposite 195 feet northerly of station 657 plus 60. Then we're running easterly in a straight line to a point opposite 107.8 feet northerly of station 659 plus 95. Then southerly in a straight line to the center line at that station, then westerly along the center line to the point of beginning. Now, meets and bounds descriptions, a little bit different from described tract. So, from evidence and procedures, as commonly used by surveyors, the meets and bounds description means complete perimeter descriptions wherein each course is described in sequence and the entire description has a direction of travel around the area described. The distinguishing feature of this type of description is that each course identified must be described one after another in the same direction of travel that would occur if a person walked around the entire perimeter. Either of two directions can be used, clockwise or counterclockwise. But once a direction is selected, it must be consistent for the remainder of the description. Meets and bounds, a subparcel being that portion of said property described as follows. And then we begin at the northeast corner of the property, and said corner being the northeast corner of the Crawford DLC, thence north 881449 west along the north line to said DLC, 257.18 feet to the northwest corner of said property. Then south 4 degrees 2439 west along the west property line of the property, 190 feet. then south 5532.17 east, 181.39 feet, then it's north 43 degrees east, 170 feet, more or less, to a point on the east line of the said DLC, said point being south 2 degrees 12 minutes 48 seconds west, 160 feet from the northeast corner of said DLC, thence north 2 degrees 12 48 east along said east line, 160 feet to the point of beginning. Description bounds help clarify the intent of the description by limiting the taking to a specific area of the grantor's property. Bounds by engineer station in the description are perpendicular to the center line. The bound may be a single station call with a direction, or it may be two engineer stations with the taking lying between the calls. The most common uses of station bounds in ODOT descriptions are with small easements used for such as drainage or signs, driveways, work areas, and where the taking is along only a portion of the frontage of the property. Some examples. First one being that portion of said property lying northwesterly of a line at right angles to the center line of the highway at station 1150 plus 50 and included in a strip of land variable in width. So we bounded that by that station and a variable width taking. Second example, that parcel being that portion of said property lying southerly of a line at right angles to the center line of the relocated lower Columbia River Highway at station 34 plus 909.863. Third example, said parcel being that portion of said lot lying between lines at right angles to the H center line of the relocated Pacific Highway West at station 25 plus 945.747 and 25 plus 953.747 and included in a strip of land 18 meters in width, lying on the northerly side. So that one, we bounded it by two stations, strip of land 18 meters in width, and the direction from the center line. The last example, that portion of the property lying westerly of a line which is parallel to and 121 feet easterly of the center line of the relocated Pacific Highway and northerly of a line drawn at right angles to said center line at engineer station 216 plus 25. Descriptions may also be bound by other elements, such as adjoining properties, intersecting streets, bodies of water, prior acquisitions we've had, even other parcels in the deed. So the first one, we have a station bound, line at right angles to the center line at station 804, and including a strip of land 20 feet in width, lying northerly of and adjoining the northerly line of the strip of land heretofore set forth in parcel 1. So we bound it by a station and a prior parcel in our deed. Second example, lying westerly of a line at right angles to the center line at engineer station 915 plus 50. Southerly of a line of mean high water on the southerly bank of the John Day River and northerly of the existing John Day Highway. So here we bound it by engineer station, the river, and the highway itself. Third example, the parcel being all state-owned, submerged, and submersible land lying between the lines of mean high water on the westerly and easterly banks of the Molalla River, included in a strip of land variable in width. So now it's, we're got a navigable river, and we're calling the ordinary high water, or in this case, they state it as mean high water. Fourth example, said parcel being all state-owned, submerged, and submersible lands lying between the lines of mean high water on the north and south banks of Depot Bay, and including the strip of land 110 feet in width, 60 feet on the easterly side and 50 feet on the westerly side. So again, we're bounding it by the mean high water, and we're stating the width, and its width on each side of the center line. Last example, said parcel being that portion is said northeast quarter to northeast quarter, lying southwesterly of the southwesterly line of that property, designated as parcel 4, and described in that warranty deed to David Page. So again, this one is bound by a parcel in another deed, not one of ours. So excess fee parcels, those occur when the damage to a grantor's property is to such an extent that the grantor requests ODOT to purchase their remainder. This is a revision process, and the excess parcel is added as the last parcel in the description so as not to renumber all other parcels in the description. The excess includes any and all easement parcels in the description and accepts out any fee parcels. So again, this is a revision process. The grantor has to request us to buy out the remainder. And so the example of that, parcel 4 fee, is parcel of land lying in the southeast of the northeast and the northeast of the southeast of section 36, and being that property described in that bargain and sale deed to Parks. And so we cite their deed, it's their entire property, but we accept out parcel 1, which was our fee purchase. Okay, access-only parcels occur when access rights to the highway are intended to be acquired from the frontage of the grantor's property, and there are no other parcel takings, or the takings are easements. Since access control is a property right that we are acquiring, the description references the grantor's deeded property, and the area stated is the area of the entire property. So in this case, parcel 1, access only. Tract the land lying in lots 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, Block 1, Nichols Edition, and being that property described in those bargain and sale deeds to Weatherly, recorded in volume 227, page 306, and recorded in volume 266, page 909. And notice that the area statement is the entire property, 32,400 square feet. So we reference the entire piece of property because we're acquiring the rights to access from that property to the highway. Okay, railroad descriptions. Railroad preference. They would like to use a description based on the railroad center line and this center line tied to a section corner. When calling out the railroad name, it is important to mention if the railroad is formerly known by another name. ODOT never buys fee from active railroad property. That's active railroad. It's standard practice to acquire a permanent easement for highway right-of-way purposes. It is desirable that the railroad descriptions be strip descriptions. A good technique is to limit the parcel within a railway right-of-way is to bound the parcel between lines at right angles to the center line of the railway. So here we go, permanent easement, highway right-of-way purposes. Parcel land lying in the northeast and northeast of section 10 and being a portion of the Willamette Valley Railway right-of-way. So we're referencing their right-of-way. Said parcel being that portion is said right-of-way lying between lines at right angles to the center line of the relocated Willamette Valley Railway at engineer stations RR 573 plus 70 and RR 575 plus not. So we're bounding by two engineer stations on the railroad center line. This concludes writing right-of-way descriptions. For more information on writing legal descriptions and right-of-way engineering in general, refer to the Right-of-Way Engineering Manual available on the ODOT website.